Hello, YouTubers, Facebookers, Instagrams, and all my other followers and family and friends. This is Jake here, Jacob Cooper here, coming on with you. I just wanted to keep you posted on some big news that my dear friend, the medium extraordinaire Sarah Sachs, and I are going to be doing a live stream Zoom event. That the date is going to be announced, but it's within this next month. And this event is something that Sarah and I have been talking about for quite some time. And that is, this event is going to be something that I don't commonly see, in the many workshops that I'm exposed to. It's going to be on grief and understanding grief as it translates to today's times, with the current pandemic. And so we're going to be discussing grief from the perspective of Sarah, who works on a medium mystic level. If you're not familiar with Sarah, please check her out. She's highly reputable and has trained in some of the most respected programs and institutes, including the Arthur Finland in England. And I've had many readings from Sarah, and she's wonderful. And we're also going to be talking about it from my own perspective as a clinical psychotherapist, and just really looking at grief through a closer look. What is it? How is it impacting what we're going through? And so, how could we find some of the tools and insight through this pandemic between the work and Sarah and I, who both work from the ground up within our clientele? And so, I strongly suggest that you consider we're going to be posting an event page for it in the next couple of days. So, please stay tuned on Facebook. And I will, under this link, also when I get word of it, share the link. And you could also look on YouTube, rather, and you could look at my website at www.jacobLcooper.com. Now, regarding grief, this really speaks very closely to my own work and the many clients that I console. And the interesting element about the COVID pandemic is we're still in it. We're still going through it. We're not on the other side of it. It hasn't happened and we're done with it, which is usually the linear trajectory of grief, where, according to the groundbreaking Swiss-trained psychiatrist Dr. Kubler-Ross, within the 5 stages, grief is not just stuck with the loss of a loved one. It could be a loss of a job, a loss of a relationship, finishing up high school and leaving your friends and venturing out on your own independency or college. So it's the ending of something very close to us and the beginning of something new. And so the difficult part about what we're going through now is we're still kind of in it. But I spoke to Sarah a little bit about the importance of finding some tools regarding mindfulness as well as some spiritual psychotherapy to really go through what we're going through, and look at it differently. Because as Dr. Wayne Dyer would say, as the moment we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Right now, whatever we're stepping into, we all walked into as a globe. And there's, everyone's in a different boat, on this whole thing. It's a different storm for everyone, but it's impacting, people on different levels. And so we just wanted to find some insight and some community-based support for this, to look at it through maybe a ground-up vantage point. But with Sarah, I was telling her that, and not to compare this to the pandemic, but in regards to grief, now around 10 years ago, I completely tore up my leg on a machine, and I was out of commission for months. And for the last probably decade, my leg has been a little bit off. I've had to rehabilitate it several times. Now, from that obstruction, from that break, from that shake-up period, I was able to really go inward, and I was able to tune in a lot more. Had I not had the injury of that break, I just don't know if I would be where I am today in terms of teaching and giving lectures and doing all these things, because some of my childhood friends could attest to this. You had to beg me to get off of the track field or the courts or whatever have you, and that's part of having an Aries moon. I always needed to be on the go, and I'm an athlete at heart. I come from a lineage of athletes, but I was able to translate that same intensity towards an inner level and to be, as my friend George Momford would say, a mindful person as well as a mindful athlete. And so I think really within what's happening now is that it's global rehabilitation. The world has a injury and there's life that we can't replace. Although, from my perspective of being a near-death experiencer, I do look at it a little bit differently in terms of consciousness and its continuality past the body. But for grieving family members and friends, that break, that loss does seem permanent, and it seems like there's no end in sight. And I think really through going inward, when we're deprived of outer oxygen, outer resources to get us through these times, we could find a way. And it's also being aware of the stages in grief that we might be in. And Sarah and I will be discussing the 5 major stages of grief, to give you maybe some insight as to where you are as we're still going through the storm, depending on whatever boat you are in. And so I hope that, my prayer and I, Sarah's prayer and I rather, that this event is helpful. It gives you some insight into what you're going through and some skills to be able to, get more empowerment in a situation where we all feel like we have our hands tied and are kind of prisoner to walking into the same day exactly the same. It's hard to see the end of this. And so we don't pretend to change the outer circumstances. We hope to assist you in the inner so that the outer could really change in how we see it. So I hope that this information sounds interesting to you all. I will be posting it on my website soon and more information about it. And I look forward to joining you on our event to be announced within the next few days. So thank you very much for tuning in. I send you and your family and your loved ones my love, my support, and blessings from my guides to you all. And, we just hope that you could be a part of our community discussion, our community lesson, and, just creating more cohesion where we could feel quite fragmented and divided and isolated throughout this all, and to know that you have support around you. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I do look forward to connecting with you and Sarah in the next few weeks. May God bless. Thank you.